Hello everyone, welcome back to Function Over Form. Today we're finally going to put on the sway bars. They finally came in. It only took a little bit, but I ordered some nice iBox sway bars and put it on my 370Z today. And all you're going to really need for this is a wrench set, and preferably if you want a torque wrench, that way you can torque down the sway bars to the torque specs from factory. But if you don't want to go out and get one, that's fine. Just be sure you put them on tight enough. Whenever you start, you're going to want to start by jacking up your car so you can get underneath it, so you can get the sway bars off. I already did that, so after that, you're going to want to get underneath it and take off the tray. After you get your tray off, you can take it off all the way. Once you get underneath your car, the sway bar is connected to the frame right here with these 14mm socket or bolts, and then also to the end link to the lower control arm with the 16 bolt right here. So once you take those off, take the sway bar out, and that's it for taking it off. Alright, so I finally got the OEM factory sway bars off, and right here we can compare it from the OEM factory one to the aftermarket iBox one that I bought. The iBox one comes with new bushings and also grease that we're going to need to grease up the bushings before we put the aftermarket sway bar on the car. The brackets that come on the car that go with the factory sway bar will work just fine with these aftermarket bushings. So we're going to be using those, and after I grease up these brand new bushings with this grease provided from iBox, we will be putting them on. So I got the bushings all greased up, put it on, about to put them underneath the car, but I just want to say iBox was nice enough to go through and say which one did what. That way, if you do not know, to be precise, they help you out. When it comes to adjusting them, if you want to use the inner one, this is going to be more stiffer one, less body roll. If you want to use the outer one, which is the farthest away, it'll be more body roll, less stiff. I'm going to go ahead and use the inner ones, just because the outer ones are basically the same thing as the OEM ones from factory, and I want less body roll, so I'm going to use the inner ones. But now I'm going to put it underneath the car, and I'll get back to this whenever I put it on. So I've got the sway bars on, and the torque specs for this, for the brackets, for this, the bushings that go onto the frame, it is 51. But my torque wrench goes in increments of 2, so I went ahead and did 52 on this one. And then the end links are 84. I also want to go and say, and apologize for this real quick, this is not a 16mm, it's a 17mm bolt. I thought it was 16. My bad. But we got these on. I'm going to wipe them down real quick because there's some fingerprints from the grease. After I wipe these down, I'm going to take the front end off of the jack stands and go and do the back. Okay, so I put off doing the rear sway bar to last because I knew it was going to be a pain. Because the exhaust hangs in the way, and then there's a brace that hangs in the way. You see these bolts, it's right here. Goes all the way back there. And there's some bolts right here, right in front of the muffler. And the way most people do it is take off the exhaust and the brace to get to the sway bar, but I have a tiny little jack that can't lift my car up too high, so I think I'm just going to take off the brace and kind of finagle its way out and wiggle its way out from between the bottom of the car and the exhaust and try to take out the sway bar that way. So I'm going to try doing that real quick. Let you know how that goes. So I'm trying to take off the subframe brace, and these bolts are 12, but I think in the 7 years this car has been driven, every time somebody hits a bump or a little dip in the road too hard, it's scraped up on the bottom of these bolts and caused little pieces of metal to go out to the side, to where the socket's not wanting to go on. Because I tried a 12 and it's not wanting to go on, but a 13 is too big. So it's a 12, but it's just, they won't go on. So, wow. Not too sure what I'm going to do now. Figure it out though. So I was able to finally get the brace out. It just required me to file down the sides of all the bolts that were holding the brace in. Wait, sorry, these are the wrong bolts. There you go. Had to file down the side of all of them because there was some metal sticking out, causing it to not be the proper size. So I filed it down using this little metal file I found. Was able to get the brace out, but it required me to take off one of the back tires, and I also ended up taking off all the hangers that hold in the exhaust. So, not the way I wanted it to go. It took a bit longer than I wanted it to, but got the brace off. Now I'm going to work on getting the sway bars out, and then let you know how that goes. Alright, so I finally was able to get the OEM factory sway bars off. It took a lot longer than I wanted it to, just because I have little to no room underneath my car because my jack's not the best. But anyways, just at the front, we're going to be able to use the brackets with these aftermarket bushings. I already took the brackets off, but these brackets we'll be able to use with the aftermarket bushings. All we have to do is grease these up, put them on, torque down the sway bar, put back on the bracket, and then put back on the exhaust hangers, and then my back wheel. Then we should be done. It took a lot longer than I wanted it to, but it'll be okay because it'll be worth it in the long run. So it's been a while since I last recorded. I had to go and get a brand new jack because the one I was using was too small. I wasn't able to get my torque wrench underneath there to torque down the end links. So I got this. Highly recommend getting an actual decent jack like this one I just got compared to this one. Tiny, doesn't really do anything. Goes at maybe 8-10 inches, not very good. I wouldn't recommend getting something like that. Definitely recommend getting a high duty one. And then when you get underneath the car, the way I was able to get the sway bars on is here's this brace. Take these 2 bolts off. Down here, there's 2 bolts down here, and come back over to the other side, and there's 2 bolts. Sorry, right here, so you can get this brace off. And instead of taking the exhaust off, there is a bolt right here for the hanger on the passenger side and driver's side. That way, you can just take. Instead of taking the exhaust off all the way, you can just have it hang a little bit. That way you can wedge out the sway bar and this brace. And I see over here by the rear bumper, there's a hanger I need to put on. Come over to the passenger side, and here's this other one right here. Sorry, the camera angles are a bit bad, but I've been out here for 3 hours. I'm showing this on the factory sway bar because I just got it from underneath the car. Don't feel like getting back underneath it just right away. But the torque specs for the rear sway bar for the clamp, which is this part right here, it's 33. My torque wrench goes in 2, so I did 34. And then for the end links on the rear, it is 41. I did 42. So that is the torque specs for the rear sway bar. And now all I need to do is put on the last bit of hangers, put on the rear tire, and then I am done. That's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Stay safe, drive safe, and have a good one.